Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. Um, you've got Alice this time. John is busy doing a paint club and has been working incredibly hard for the last sort of 2 weeks or so. So he's been struggling to find the time to do much, to be honest. He's been out for the last 7 evenings, so we've barely seen each other. I'm going to take over this session and show you how to paint a very simple mountain landscape. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I have connected to my headphones because our house rabbit is sat behind me chewing boxes, so it's a little bit noisy. I am sat at one of our studio tables, which you can see is covered in paint. This is where we all paint as a family and where John paints for his shows and things, so it gets a bit messy. But so to get started, I'm going to use some white and I'm actually going to put it straight on the canvas, so a big dollop of white and a bit of orange. And I'm just going to mix this directly on the canvas. So you just want to cover about the middle third of your canvas. I'm actually going to add a little bit more white into this because this will be our sunset background. And you can add more white as you go with this, just to blend it out a bit. Apologies if the camera wobbles. Hopefully it doesn't give anyone motion sickness. So I'm just going to apply some more white just to lighten the top, which will become the top part of our sunset. You can just blend it across your canvas. There's no right or wrong way to do this, so it's completely up to you how you want it to look. What we're going to do after this is add in some pink or some red into the sky, top half of the sky, and we're just going to blend it across, which is why we're adding the white now, just to soften it a bit. I'm just going to clean my brush off. Now I'm actually going to use quite a bold red. I would suggest using a pink if you've got one, or using a red like this and lightening it with some white. So I've just got a little bit of that magenta and some white on my brush. I'm just going to blend it into the sky. I'm just adding in some more white now just to mix it, just to blend that in across the canvas. Just do that until you're happy with the contrast. So I'm actually just going to rinse my brush again. And just add a bit more white in. So you can make this quite bold if you want a bold sunset. I'm hoping to make mine quite soft. Going for that kind of early evening glow. Right, I think I'm going to leave that there. I'll just wait for a few of you to finish off, and I'm just going to let my paint dry a little bit as well. So the next bit we're going to do is a light blue on top of this. So I just want it to dry a bit more so it doesn't go green. Got my cup of tea ready to go. Just realised you can probably hear me swallowing because I'm wearing headphones. Sorry about that. So for the next bit, this is the brush I was just using. I'm going to swap to a slightly smaller brush. You can use one like this, or if you're more comfortable doing detail with a rounded brush, you could use one like this as well. I'm going to start with a light blue. So I'm just going to mix mine up. So at the moment, the blue I'm using is this colour. So it's quite a nice high pigment blue, which I'm just going to mix with some white, just to make a kind of softer blue, because these will be our background mountains. So we don't want the colour to be too bold. If you want to add in a bit of green to make it more of a sort of tealy, turquoisey colour, then you can do that. Okay. So we've left this gap at the bottom. Again, this is completely up to you how you want to do it. I'm going to start about a third of the way down. Just paint my mountains on. You can do this however you want. I'm just going to make this up. So there is no right or wrong way of doing this. It's completely up to you. I think that paint is just about dry for the background. So I'm just going to fill this in, and and just fill in a little bit of the space kind of to the top of the white space that I've left. Because in a minute we're going to paint over this with a darker blue, so you don't need to completely fill it in. Paint underneath is repelling this ever so slightly. Right. So now I'm going to use a slightly darker blue. So I'm going to use that same blue. And I'm actually going to add just a tiny bit of green to it, so I'm using this. Okay. So this is your next layer of mountains that you're painting on. Ideally you would let the layer behind dry completely, but because I am filming this all in one go, I can't do that. So I might just have to do some touching up at the end, but we shall see. So this is where you can just have a bit of fun with the shapes that you're creating. Okay, I am going to move on to a slightly darker colour again. I'm actually going to mix a little bit of violet in. So I'm just mixing on top of the blue that I was using before, just to make it a slightly darker shade. I would show you, except I am actually using the back of the canvas wrap so I can't move it because it will all fold up. Okay. This paint behind is very wet, so hopefully this goes okay. It's probably one of the speediest paintings I've ever done. So again, it's completely up to you the colours you want to use on these mountains. So you can use greens, you could have a blue sky and use different hues of orange and red for your mountains. Completely your decision. Have a play around. Now the next bit we're doing is the really dark bit at the front. So hopefully as you're watching this, you've been pausing it as you need to. Otherwise you're going to have a very wet canvas like I do here as well. So that's your mountain scene done. So the next bit we're going to move on to is the moon in the background, which we're just going to do with white. So with a wet brush and a round head brush, just going to use a tiny bit of white and choose where I want the moon. So I'm going to have mine quite low. A bit more water. So what I'm trying to do is just make a sort of fuzzy halo where I want the moon to be. Just let that dry a little bit. I'm just going to dry my brush a little and add a little bit more white in. Just dry my brush off and just mix it again. And then what you want to do is just add your white back on top again. Just start building up where you want the moon. So the sort of soft edge kind of provides a bit of a haze around the moon. Just dried off my brush. I'm just going to pick up some of that excess paint. I would suggest letting that dry and then adding another layer just on top. Because this canvas is still a bit wet. I don't want to add too much more on. Okay, there you have it, one mountain and moon scene. I would definitely suggest pausing between layers and not rushing the mountains as I have done. As you can see on this, the little white flecks is actually the light reflecting on the mountains because they're so wet. There you go. Okay, enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone, and hopefully it will be John back with you next week. Okay, bye.